Welcome back to the Business Insider. Tonight I have the pleasure to be joined by Dr. Fattah, Badr, Science Professor at Helwan University and the Rapporteur of the Environment Research Council in the Scientific Research Academy. A pleasure having you with us on the show here tonight. Thank you for joining us. Our topic tonight is the Egypt's Future Project, or Mustaqbal Masr project, and other projects aiming to achieve food security. Let's watch this report and then start our discussion.
Egypt's Future Project for Agricultural Production aims to reclaim over 1 million fadans and is being implemented to maximize production opportunities, provide high-quality agricultural products at reasonable prices to citizens, bridge the gap between production and importing, achieve food security amid recent global crises, and attain self-sufficiency in strategic commodities. This is coupled with 10,000 direct job opportunities and more than 360,000 indirect ones, with a forecasted increase during the coming season. President Abdel Fattah requested that the remaining phase of the project be completed by 2023 during the inauguration along Cairo's Dab'a axis in the country's northwest, which is part of the New Delta Development Project. The four-stage project will contribute to providing several agricultural crops needed in the country, including wheat. Project Director Baha El Ghanem said that the project will cover 1,050,000 fadans by its last phase, which represents nearly 50% of the New Delta project and will realize an unprecedented leap in agriculture and industry and other sectors. The first phase, covering 34,000 fadans, has been fully implemented, while the second was due in October with an area of 300,000. Originally, the third and fourth phases were due by July 2023 and July 2024, covering another 700,000. The project, which dates back to 2010, was revived by President Abdel Fattah and boasts modern infrastructure, agricultural and irrigation systems, along with optimum management of energy and water resources, guaranteeing highest quality agricultural production. With a population increase of 20 million in 10 years, the country has a dire need for projects that can cater to the needs of this ever-growing resource and minimize the reliance on agricultural imports that break.
Welcome back to the Business Insider. So the Egypt's Future Project is our topic tonight, along with other projects aimed to secure or to achieve food security here in the country and development. Our guest tonight, Dr. Fattah Badr, Professor of Science, Helwan University, Rapporteur of the Environment Research Council in the Scientific Research Academy. Once again, thank you for joining us here on the show tonight. The country is undertaking agricultural projects in Toshka, in Beni Suef, in Minya, the Dab'a axis. What is the significance of this one, the Egypt's Future or Mustaqbal Masr agricultural project?
Yeah, the Future of Egypt agricultural project is actually a part of the New Delta project on the west of the old Delta. The Delta extends from the Mediterranean coast to the October city along the Dab'a axis, and the Future of Egypt project is in the Dab'a axis on the way to the north coast of Egypt. It should be about 1 million faddan, or a little
1,050,000.
And it should end in 2 years. Hopefully it will be finished in 2 years. This will add a significant land area to the Egyptian agriculture, which we need extremely in this year and this, next year, because of the international crisis, first because of COVID, and then the Ukraine crisis, and the climate change, of course, also may affect this. And the good thing about this project also is it is devoted to the most needed crops like wheat and barley. Wheat, of course, is the most important crop in our economy, and this is devoted to the Wealth of Egypt Oil project will be mainly cultivated by wheat and other cereals, which is important for the bread producing meal. The other part of this is what they call New Delta. And New Delta would add another 1 million. That's together will be 2 millions. 2 millions is a huge amount of land, because we have 8 millions. If we add 2, then it's about 25% increase in the land of Egypt, which is devoted to the production of most.
25% increase within a very limited time frame.
Yeah, we haven't done this for tens of years.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years.
Well, I will talk since Nasser time, because the first we know, we are born in the second half of the 20th century, and we started reclaiming desert lands at the time of President Nasser, moderated Tahrir and the New Valley. These were limited areas compared to what we do now. We now revive the Toshka project in the south. We add New Delta, which is 2 million acres, which is too large. Also, we will add more lands in Sinai and the east of Delhi, and the new towns, like you said, in East Minya and the other parts of and west of the Minya, of course, is important.
Right.
So let us talk about this project.
We'll talk about them one by one, but when we look at the future of Egypt, or Egypt's future project, how does this fall within the country's strategy to secure food supply?
First, it would add about 20% more production to the food. Second, it will use a limited amount of water. It's mainly based on the wastewater treatment. So it would not exhaust the main source of our water from the Nile. This is another good idea in the project. And also it would offer jobs to young people. In fact, I counted about 8 or 10 benefits from these projects. The New Delta is near to the port of the Mediterranean, so export would be closer to the other countries to export. And of course, we will initiate new communities in new lands, so we will diffuse the populated areas in the Nile Delta. We will build schools and hospitals. We will move people from the Delta to these. We will expand actually the population of Egypt to the west and to the east along the Nile and the Nile Delta, which is great.
Right, so if you were to put headlines for the country's strategy to secure food supply, what would be the main items within that strategy?
The main items is to take reclaiming the land seriously and watch time.
And?
Watch time. When we state
time averse,
2 years,
right.
2 years, it should be 2 years.
Well, according to the head of state, during the inauguration, he said,
yes.
2023 finalize everything, not 2024.
Yes, because the private sector will take part in reclaiming, in cultivation.
Right, we'll talk about that as well.
We need, this is not dependent on the government money, but we need to attract
private
investment. And the private investment at this time may take some time. That's why I said to be exact on time, because these are plans, and the plans has to be watched very carefully.
Right.
Another thing is to do some tests, to do some feedback, to test the soil, to make sure that the proposition we based the project is going very well. To do soil analysis frequently, to do water analysis frequently, to select the best varieties and the types of crops that would give the expected production, to qualify the people who would actually work in this project. We do not allow experimentation, but to be sure that the project will go ahead successfully.
Well, any project has to have a feasibility study,
yes,
and all the tests are undertaken.
Feasibility studies and feedback and
monitoring and evaluation.
Monitoring and evaluation. That's
right.
Correct. That's
okay. Let's talk about each project, and let's start with Toshka.
Yeah, Toshka started at the time of President Mubarak about 30 years ago, I think in the 90s. We were excited by the project. I was at Tanta University at the time, and we invited Salah Muntasir, the famous journalist, to explain to us and to the students the promises of Toshka, and it was going very well. But it has set back because probably you don't know details. But giving a huge land to one single person, I think that was not a good idea. But now,
what single person?
You know, some people were offered 100,000 acres.
Well, Toshka at the time when it was made, at the time when it was made, the infrastructure was not complete.
Yes.
And there was only one investor that sought to come in at the time, because nobody else.
I thought there are four,
right.
And he was one of them.
Right.
But now, when it is revived, we watch what went wrong in the last time.
How so?
How so? First, to finish the infrastructure, and make sure that the private sector has enough investment for cultivation of the land he given.
What do you mean has?
I mean, I give the land to somebody who's able, who has enough money to cultivate the crops, not to give somebody who has not is not prepared, who has no plans to cultivate and succeed.
Well, first of all, it's understood that in order to attract investments, you have to provide the proper infrastructure.
Yes.
So in order for any investor to come in and to commit and to sustain the investments, so has the infrastructure been completed in order to secure the sustainability?
The best of my knowledge, it's not completed yet, but the completed part is cultivated.
At stages?
Yeah, stages.
At stages,
yes,
right.
Yes.
So what's the aim of the Toshka
aim of
project?
the project, Toshka, was to cultivate organic crops and for export.
For export.
For export. And Toshka, because Toshka is so far, there's no use of herbicides, no use of insecticides, no use of fertilizers. And these are conditions for production of organic crops. And of course, export to some countries at high price will be is an objective of the project. I'm talking about Toshka.
Right.
But other projects, I'm not sure it's for export. It's actually for local.
Let's focus on Toshka for a while. What are there must be some sort of coordination and complementation, if you will, between the different parts or the different projects in order to be able to cover a large spectrum of commodities that will be produced. You said, for example, the Egypt's Future project is going to focus on wheat. Yeah. Right? You didn't tell me how much is it expected to produce, and how much do we need in order to cover our local consumption?
In wheat.
In wheat.
Our local consumption this year, from the figures I have seen, we will import 9 million tons. We produce about 4, 5. So now
we consume 9 million, or we import 9 million?
we consume 13
million.
13 millions. We will import 9.
We will
And
import nine.
our local production that the farmers will
Supply is 4 million tons.
is about 4 million tons.
And
so we are short of about 9 millions.
And how much will the future of Egypt's project?
1 million Fattah should cover about 20%. We still have to import about 6-7 million
Tons. So
about half of our needs.
So you still have to cultivate other areas with wheat in order to...
I don't think we can actually produce sufficient wheat even if we cultivate the 2 million acres of the Nile Delta, because their production will not be enough for our consumption. Our population, our human population is growing very fast, and our land available for wheat cultivation is limited even after adding 2 or 3 millions, because the human population grows. And we need also to cultivate other crops. We need to cultivate clover for animal production in winter. So we can, I think we will have to import wheat for some years.
Going back to Toshka now,
you
said the focus is on organic crops.
In Toshka. That was the idea, yes.
That was the idea, but practically?
Practically, as far as I know, it is still for mainly production. Production for export. And organic. To cultivate organic vegetables and fruits for export.
How will it be exported?
From Toshka to Germany. Germany, you know, the German like organic.
How will it be exported through ports or air?
Air.
But the cost will be very high.
It's very high.
That's what made the first investor fail.
Toshka itself is very far, so taking the crops to the Red Sea needs aeroplanes as well. So
needs highways.
Or
railroads.
Or aeroplanes.
Railroads,
highways, and aeroplanes and the highways. But to Germany,
cost efficiency. You're talking railroads. Number one. Road transportation. Number two.
Yes.
And the highest cost will be airplanes.
Yes.
Because.
But it's the fastest.
It's the fastest and the costliest.
And fruits and vegetables on long time may lose.
Fruits and vegetables is another story. Are we focusing only on organic fruits and vegetables?
Foods, yes.
All right. So that's another story. That's another story.
Yeah. And aeroplanes is now used for transporting food.
Let's move from Toshka to Beni Suef.
Yes. That was another project recently. It is made for... I have read some reports about investors.
Can we go back a little bit? I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you're talking about Toshka, what's the area cultivated?
500,000 acres.
500,000
500,000
faddans.
acres,
500,000 acres.
Yes, more or less.
So this 500,000 you add to the Egypt's future, the 1 million.
Egypt's future 1 million, and the new delta is another million.
Toshka is
500,000.
500,000. All right. So Beni Suef, what's the total area?
I'm not sure of the area, but it would much less, about 200 also.
All right.
Menia as well, Beni Suef and Menia. These will add.
Let's focus on Beni Suef. What's the project? A project description.
Project description is to expand the cultivated land from the Nile. It would also be dependent on groundwater with some subsidies from
underground
water mainly. and it will use modern ways of water supply.
Of
It's not,
irrigation.
of irrigation, so we can use plants that use a small amount of water. These are encouraged not only in Bani Suef, but in all new lands.
So what's the focus? What are we focusing to produce in Bani Suef?
Main crops, strategic crops, cereals, legumes, mainly cereals.
Cereals and vegetables.
Cereals and vegetables.
Right.
What we actually in
Local
Egypt
consumption
we have
or
cereals, wheat mainly, rice, maize, and sometimes the legumes, vegetables, and fruits, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the people who actually studied, made the feasibility study, who made the soil analysis, and the plans which land would be cultivated with what crop.
Minya.
Minya is, in my view, is more promising because I have seen some projects in the West.
Where do you come from?
I'm not from Armenia, but I'm actually from Manufia, but I studied at Asyut and lived in Asyut for 6 years, and then...
So you're biased. Okay.
So I know the side very well. I heard about the Minya project because some of my colleagues have actually investing in the area from the Faculty of Agriculture at Minya University. So since they pay for the land, I assume that they have made some feasibility studies and they are confident that their investment will be successful.
Okay.
So I think Minya have a chance because I have seen some projects producing sugar from beetroots, which is very nice in this part of Egypt, because we have seen the product in our eyes. It's not somebody told me or something, but I have visited some parts, and I see that the people there are serious in cultivating.
Cultivating what?
Cultivating beetroots and some fruits, and some people actually try with some fruits, some vegetables, some crops. It depends what the investor use.
Right. So, and the area?
It's about 250,000 or so.
About 250,000
About 250,000. So the Minya,
acres.
Bani Suef, and Toshka make another third million if to be added to the...
Right, so that would cover the 2 million fadans that we're seeking to cultivate.
2 millions, we already have 1 million in the future of Egypt,
Right.
and 1 million the new delta on the Mediterranean, and another 500,000 in Toshka, and 500,000 in Bani Suef and Minya. So it's about 3 millions now to be added.
About 250.
200.
500.
500. With Toshka, we still have Minya and Bani Suef, so it's about 3.
Right. So,
and Sinai, again, we have more lands to be added.
So we're
in
surpassing expectations when
we
it
are
comes.
surpassing expectation. We hope that it would be done on time. So at least if we are not able to produce sufficient wheat, we can produce other crops for export, and with our agricultural export increase, we can import wheat.
Right.
In last year, we were the first in exporting oranges and some fruits as well. So Egypt is...
What do we need to secure our needs?
To work hard and to plan very well, and to make easy for the people to export their products without delay or loss.
No, I'm talking about our needs.
Our
Our
needs.
needs, not exports.
To be self-sufficient in
Right.
food.
What do we need to be self-sufficient in food? We have projects.
We are already self-sufficient in vegetables and fruits, and we export vegetables and fruits. We are self-sufficient in other crops as well, but we cannot.
We import sugar.
Sugar. We can
import
probably
wheat.
we can be self-sufficient.
We import $8 billion worth of agricultural
Yes.
products per annum.
Yes. We can be self-sufficient in sugar if we increase. You know, sugar cane requires a lot of money, so we have some reduce the sugar cane cultivation. But probably beet can replace sugar cane, and beet also is useful for cultivation in new reclaimed land that have some salinity. So because it can grow in saline soil, so we can use sugar beet in saline soil. That's another advantage of using the beet for producing sugar. But with beet and sugar cane, we can be self-sufficient in sugar and stop importing sugar. We can, as I said, we are self-sufficient vegetables and fruits, and we can probably not be able to be self-sufficient in oil crops, because oil crops do not grow well in Egypt, and
the sunflower
shouldn't
it be growing properly here?
It can grow properly, but the production is not sufficient for us. We import about 90% of our oil.
What do we need in order
to minimize or to import less oil, but we still need to import oil. Our soil, our water, our environment.
I mean cultivating.
Because we need land to cultivate oil crops. If we use the land for cultivating oil crops, it would be at the cost of cultivating other crops like wheat or clover or cotton or maize. So we have to balance. By the way, the agriculture in Egypt is the most successful in the world. We have limited land. You do rotation of cultivating the soil 2 times or sometimes 3 times a year, which is very clever compared to other countries. And the productivity per acre in Egypt is high in most crops, in spite of the efforts we pay. We don't have rain. We do some more efforts than others to produce wheat and maize and other crops, because of the small areas of land. So we don't have huge land to use mechanization. We use little mechanization in our agriculture, and we have to water each plant of our crops, not like other countries who actually rely on rain for cultivation. The cost of production in Egypt is high, and the productivity is high as well.
We're considered in the poor areas when it comes to rainfall.
Yes, of course, yes.
All right.
Probably Egypt is the most dependent country in the world on irrigation for agriculture. Only Bangladesh use but much less than we use. Rely on water irrigation.
Right.
Yeah.
How is population growth dictating our strategy?
Human population.
Right.
It's serious. We have to, I don't say we have to, but we have to make balance. We have to educate the people. We have to make sure that...
How is it dictating our strategy in terms of the cost that is borne by the economy in order to secure food supply?
It costs a lot. If we are not increasing by 2-3 million a year, we could have been self-sufficient. Since 2011, we've increased about 20 million or so, which is very another country. Egypt has increased by another.
Yes, however, we're living on 7% of our land, so you still have...
So if we are not increasing in this this percentage, we could have been more successful, not only in food supply, in education and in health. So if we actually control some growth population, we will benefit better.
Do you only need to
lifestyle
control the
better
growth of the population, or do you also need to redistribute the population?
Redistribution is a good idea. As I mentioned, this land reclamation will redistribute the area. The new cities, the new towns are made. You know, 40 years ago, very few people can find any cities outside Cairo. Now, new cities everywhere, and the new capital, and from here to the new capital, people are distributed already. But that's not enough. We need to distribute more, and we need to control. You know, have to educate the people better than we've been doing so far. You know, this is an everlasting problem. Since I was a child, we talk about regulation of birth control, but we need to take it more seriously, I think.
Well, we didn't used to speak about redistributing the population across the country.
Of course, people can be wealth for the country. If they are able, if they have a chances, if we have industry, if we have
that's where investments
Yes.
comes into play. How is
Yes.
the public-private partnership when it comes to agricultural investments? Do we need to encourage the private sector? Do we need to incentivize the private sector? Do we need to engage them?
The old culture is all private sectors. You know, the old delta, the old land.
Pre the 52 revolution.
Now we have realized that fragmentation of agricultural land was not a good
Has
policy.
destroyed the agricultural land.
So we need not to fragment the land again, and to use large areas for cultivation, either for investors, rich investors, one, or probably تعاونيات, what they call cooperatives,
right?
Like shares and so on, and that would be more successful because everybody will be sharing,
and you'll be able to control prices with the cooperatives,
yes.
which is
so
a successful model in many countries.
Not completely in private hands,
right?
But the state has
regulated.
Some control.
Regulated.
Yes.
Dr. Fattah Badr, Professor of Science,
Yes.
Helwan University, Rapporteur on the Environment Research Council and the Scientific Research Academy. Pleasure, sir.
Thank you for having me. It was nice talking to you.
Pleasure having you here tonight.
I hope. Okay.
See you same time next week. I'm Ayman Salah.
Okay.
Good night.
I hope ان احنا ما اتكلمناش في السياسه قوي.